We're having some fun on this show, and everyone's been doing their own thing at their own location. That includes Chef Randy Feltis. So he's out in the backyard. He's got the grill going, and we know barbecue season for most of us is all year long, but in the summer, this is prime time. And the one meat that comes up again and again during the summer months is steak. How important is steak to you, Chef?
Tracy, everybody wants to be the king of the grill, and a cheeseburger is a flex, and the tasty smash burger is delicious, but nothing compares to a properly seasoned, seared, and cooked to perfection steak. So today, I picked my 3 top cuts that is going to make you the king or queen of your grill. Do you want to get into them?
I cannot wait to get into them. And like, if you could explain to us like where the cuts are coming from as well, because that's the part that I always get confused about.
Oh, no problem at all. Let's start with my absolute favorite, the ribeye. Always cut a little bit thicker. This is the back of the strip loin. So it's basically the back of your rib cage, but it has the strip loin muscle here, and then it has this fat cap. I just love this steak because it's so fatty, it's so juicy, and it's got a little bit of chew to it. Now, when I say it's my favorite, it's only my favorite maybe 4 times out of 5. My second favorite is actually kind of an opposite steak, and that is the tenderloin. Take a look at this, baby. You can see there isn't as much marbling, but this cut, Tracy, actually belongs in the inside of the skeleton cell. And that's the only muscle on the inside. It doesn't actually do much. It just kind of protects the organs, which makes it super tender and as well very juicy if it's not overcooked. So when I'm feeling light and refreshing, I go with the tenderloin. When I'm feeling like down, dirty, and I want to get into it, I go with a big, fat, juicy ribeye. And when I'm feeling in between, Tracy, it's the strip loin. This is your classic New York strip that you see in a menu, normally 1.5 inches thick, perfect marbling. It's got the best of both worlds. It's tender enough like the tenderloin. It's juicy like the ribeye, but it's just somewhere in between. Tracy, out of these 3, what is your steak?
Well, I'm going to go with the one that I actually know how to prepare, and that is the tenderloin. That's what I prepare. It's super lean. It is very easy. I feel even I can say it's foolproof, believe it or not, because I've never messed that one up. How about you? What's your favorite?
It really does depend, but I do have days where I love the tenderloin. I also have days where I love the ribeye. We can also talk price. Like, these are the 3 of the top steaks, and the reason why the top price is they come high on the beast. The tenderloin definitely is the most expensive because there's very little fat on it, and there isn't as much tenderloin on the beast. Then it's the strip loin, and then it is the ribeye. So if you want to learn more, you can head to thebutchershop.com. That's where these steaks came from. And here is the simplest thing I can tell you about steaks, Tracy. The more money you pay, the better the steaks are. There's really no cheating that system. It comes down with food. You're going to pay for the quality, and if you want the best, it's going to cost you.
At least you know you get what you pay for in this situation. So what I want to know now is, how do you know, like, how do you get the right doneness? If everybody, you know, somebody wants a medium rare, somebody wants a well done, like, what are you doing to make sure people get the steak that they want?
That is a fantastic question, because that is always the way. In my household, Tracy, I just don't ask the question. They're going to get it the way I prepare it, and it's going to be perfect every time. So how do I get it perfect? The way that I'm going to make it? It really, once again, it comes down to the size of the cut. So the thinner the cut, it's going to get there faster, and your window is going to be a lot smaller to hit it perfect. The thicker the cut, it's going to take a little bit longer. So your window to hit it right in that range is actually a lot longer. So if you're scared, you actually want to go with a thicker cut than a thinner cut, because the window of error is a lot bigger. Or smaller, so it's easier to get to. Today I'm on the barbecue, and there's 2 different cooking methods out here. I've got an infrared searing channel on this side, which comes up to like 1600 degrees. You can see like it's melting that fat, it's charring it away, it's getting that crust. And then we can go the regular plain old way, which is on the grill. Obviously, the hotter and faster you go, the more intense the cooking is going to be, and it's going to be a shorter time. So you got to kind of keep your tools close by. Tracy, do you have any tools to know when your steak is done?
Do you want me to pull Leo out here so he can give you a proper answer? No, I don't know. That's why I'm always like erring on the side of more doneness than rareness, because I want to make sure it's cooked through. But Chef, I know that there is something that you talk about quite a bit. First of all, I know there's a lot of flame happening, but he's a pro. He's got it under control. You say when you take the steak off of the grill, it needs to sit there for a while. It needs to rest. And you're not just saying this because it's super hot or because you don't want us to be greedy. There's a reason why the steak needs to rest. What's the reason?
There is very good reason. So when you feel like you've got to your temperature, and your tool might just be Leo to get you there, by the way. I've got two different ones. If you want to cheat and you want to go to Canadian Tire, these are like super cheap. You can throw it in there, you can get your temperature, it'll tell you exactly where you're at. I like using a fork, a butcher fork, and I just put it in the middle of the steak, leave it in there for like 15 seconds, and then once we remove, I bring it up to the top of my lip right there, and it should just feel nice and warm. If it burns you, you overcook the steak and you deserve to get burnt, but it shouldn't leave a mark or anything. It should just kind of feel like, oh, dipping your toe into a hot tub. That's around 125 internal, and that is a perfect medium rare. So once we're at that point, we're going to pull it off and we're going to let that steak rest. A really cool tool is if you cook the steak for 8 minutes, let it rest for 8 minutes. If you cook the steak for 15 minutes, let it rest for 15 minutes, because those inside molecules, they need to calm down and suck the moisture back into the steak, right? So they're going to expand as they're cooking, and then as they rest, they're going to come back in. So that way when you cut it, the juices aren't flying everywhere. It's actually staying inside the steak.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Okay, so we've talked all about the steak. We have to talk about the accompaniment to the steak, and that's the chimichurri, which you have made. So tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so this is the #1 steak sauce of the summer. This is a chimichurri. It is dead easy to make. It'll keep in your fridge for like a couple weeks, and it is just the bomb on steaks, chicken, almost anything. So what you need is a large amount of chopped parsley. The reason why I love this one, it's so simple. Other than the chopped parsley, we just have a couple cloves of garlic, we have some chilies, and some dried oregano. So now we got to get things really moist, and what you want to see is this pool of olive oil in the middle. You're actually after that. You needs a lot of extra virgin olive oil. So just don't be afraid to over oil it, and then we have to balance that out with some sharpness, so we get some red wine vinegar and pour that in. So the sharpness is coming from the vinegar. You're almost making a powerful vinaigrette, and then you just stir this up. You can leave it at room temperature, and it goes well on almost everything. So Trace, you want to see us open a steak up?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so I think our cameraman today said his favorite steak was a tenderloin, so we're just going to go straight into this baby, right into the middle, and you can see that's well rested. It's not bleeding. It is just a thing of beauty, and you also saw the steak just cut like butter through there. Now the ribeye, if we take a look at this one, we want to go against the grain, so we are just going to turn this one over and carve off these portions like that. Just look at juicy, meaty, and gorgeous. Now, Tracy, this looks like a giant steak because it is, but this steak would actually feed like 3 of us in our family. So what we've been doing lately is we go with a more expensive cut, and we sometimes even go with a more expensive like type of beef, and we go with a larger piece, but then we share it for 4 people. So we're only getting like 4 to 5 ounces of steak. You're not in a coma afterwards. You can have a couple bites, and then you can still have some salad maybe, and maybe even room for dessert.
Makes sense to me, Chef. That is absolutely beautiful. We know everything we need to know about steak. We are all jealous and drooling over here at my house. Thank you, Chef Randy.